Wetsdorp, situated 70 kilometers from Bloemfontein, played host to the Mareka Ford Caledon 400, the penultimate round of the MSA Off-Road Championship. The father and son duo of Franz Czepek Sr. and Jr. have wrapped up the Special Vehicle Championship with 2 events to go, while reigning Class B champion Kilnell has matters under control in Class B. While Czepek Sr. has had a phenomenal run this season with 6 consecutive victories, the battle for second place in Class A rages on.
I think it's more a situation of myself or John or one of the other guys actually trying to win a race, because France has won all the events this year, and I think that's my first priority. I'm not too concerned about the championship. My concern is actually to go and beat France out there in a race before the end of the year.
The battle for the lead in the production vehicle category has raged between Bucks Caroline and Schumi van Vieren all season, but with 2 races to go, Neil Woolridge and Camille de Villiers are in with a chance. While overall victory has eluded Bucks Caroline and Henny Terstegen in the Works Mitsubishi Pajero, consistent podium finishes see them with a slender 5-point lead in the championship.
On the class championship, we've got a fairly comfortable lead there. If we can finish the next 2 races, we don't necessarily have to win. If we do a good class finish, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, then we should wrap up the championship for the class.
Manfred Schroeder and Jack Peckham are the Class E leaders in the Mareka Ford Ranger and have had a gaggle of Toyota crews intent on wresting the lead away from them. 60 special and production vehicles entered the Mareka Ford Caledon 400. Class A had 15 entries, while Class B had 10, Class D 14, Class E 11, and Class T 10. With the production vehicle championship and 5 of the 6 class championships still to be decided, the competition promised to be tough. Ahead of the crews lay a 44-kilometer time trial to determine starting positions for Saturday's main event, which would be contested over a testing 455-kilometer course. Neil Woolridge and Kenny Skolthammer gained an early advantage when they posted the quickest time in the French-built Mareka Ford Ranger V8. The reigning production vehicle champions won the recent Queen Motors Spares Taka 400. Relative newcomer to off-road racing, Greg Dowse set the quickest time in last year's event, but had to be content with 2nd place this time round. On board with veterans Hannes Grobler and Richard Leek, who were 3rd quickest despite breaking 2 front drive shafts on the Nissan hardbody Super Truck. The pair won the Mitsubishi Marberspan 500 earlier in the season, but have had a spate of non-finishes in recent events, mainly due to gearbox problems. 54-year-old Franz Czepek Sr. and stand-in co-driver Steve Parker had a good run in the Porsche-powered V-Motors Chenoweth and would start in 4th place on Saturday. A welcome return to form for the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser of multiple production vehicle champions Api Reinecker and Robin Houghton. Many hours of development work by the Toyota Motorsport team had finally paid off, and they were rewarded with joint 4th place in the time trial. Former Special Vehicle Drivers Champion and reigning Special Vehicle Co-Drivers Champion Bucks Caroline and co-driver Henny Terstegen had a good run in the Mitsubishi Pajero, qualifying 6th quickest and a mere 7 seconds behind Reinecker. The Production Vehicle Championship leaders have been cast in the bridesmaids role all season and were looking for their first win. Rookies Atang Makakhaneni and Mike Stengel had matters well under control in the supercharged Porsche-powered Jimco, and they would start in 7th position. Makakhaneni co-drove for Bevan Berthold last year and switched over to the driver's seat this year. Another rookie, Terence Marsh, made his debut in the special vehicle category earlier this year and has put up some impressive performances. Reigning Class D champions Hein Grobler and Gerard Prinsloo have not had the best of seasons, but their impressive 9th position gave notice to the other Class D contenders that they meant business. Winners of 2 races this season, Camille de Villiers and Francois Jordan, also meant business, but a puncture and broken front drive shafts would see them start in 21st position in the Nissan hardbody. Terence Marsh is a former off-road motorcycle racer who made the switch to 4 wheels earlier this year. The Gauteng-based businessman has some ambitious plans for next season.
We're really going to have a look at this race and see how the car does get used to the car. After this race, we will be stripping the car and rebuilding it for next season. We've got big plans next season. We'll be racing in a team called Bosch Logistics next season. Myself and Greg Das will be driving. There'll be 2 cars involved. So we're very much looking forward to that. For the rest of the season, we're very much complete. We'll be moving to the Roof of Africa, which we'll be doing on the bike. So the cars will then go and get set up for next year.
Woolridge clinched the #1 spot, followed by Dowse. Hobler was third quickest despite breaking drive shafts, while Reiniger and Chepek would start on the same second. Crews woke to sunny skies that promised dry and dusty conditions for much of the route. As always, there were last-minute preparations, well-wishers and autograph hunters.
It's always nice to start off the front, especially when it's dry and it's going to be dusty, I think. So it's nice to start off in front, although I personally prefer to follow a little bit, but it's nice to start first. At least we're the top guys, and our vehicle feels nice. I think we've done a lot of development on the suspension, so it handles a lot better. Although we're still running with a standard box, but at least it's reliable. I'm looking forward to today. The Ford's got a minute on the rest of us, and between 2nd and 7th there's 9 seconds. So it's going to be very tough up front, and we're going to have to. It's going to be a bun fight, but I'm looking forward to it. So I think today's our race. We're trying hard, and we're trying to get up there and keep to the head. It's a very muddy race. I think back down the field it'll be more difficult for other cars. The dust is normally a good reason why we try and qualify up ahead, but I think today not so much a factor.
It's been a long time since we started this down here. It looks like it's going to be a bit dusty, so we're going to have a work cut out to get to the front, and we're going to try our best to get there. We have to get as many points in this event as possible for the championship, so we're going to go quite hard from the beginning.
The route for the Mareka Ford Caledon 400 was based on the American off-road concept, where multiple service points are located near to a single major road, ensuring that the action is easily accessible to all. 7 a.m. and the moment everyone had been waiting for, the showdown of the super trucks with Woolridge and Skoldhammer first away in the Mareka Ford. 63 seconds later, it was Greg Dowse and Trevor Ormerod's turn in the Cargo M2 City Raceco, but behind them there were 4 cars separated by 8 seconds, with a Nissan of Grobler and Leek at the front of the pack. 20 minutes into the race, and as predicted by many, the V8-powered Mareka Ford of Neil Woolridge and Kenny Skoldhammer was in the lead, but the pair could not afford to relax their guard for a second. Grobler and Leek were on a charge in the Nissan hardbody and had passed special vehicle leaders Dowse and Ormerod in the 2.7-litre VW Type 4 powered Raceco, which surprisingly is fitted with a 4-speed gearbox. Not quite a match for the V6 powered Nissan. On board with Reiniger and Houghton in the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser. Since reverting from the unreliable 6-speed sequential gearbox to the standard 5-speed gearbox, the famed reliability of the Land Cruiser has returned. Carolyn and Testega's Mitsubishi Pajero wasn't quite a match for the more powerful Ford and Nissans, and for them it was a case of conserving the vehicle and gaining a podium finish. Behind them, Atang Makakhaneni in the Jimco and Franz Chepek Sr. in the Chenoweth were involved in their own battle for second position in the special vehicle category. Terence Marsh and Trevor Ahir had settled down well in their recently acquired V8-powered CommuterNet Jimco, but they would later retire when the automatic transmission cried enough. Lichtenberg 400 winners Cliff Barker and Vic Camper were well placed in the top 10. Barker hails from Brakpan and is also a former production vehicle champion. The Barker Performance Products Land Rover is powered by a BMW M3 motor. Nissan pair Grobler and Prinsloo had a commanding lead in Class D, but were being chased hard by former special vehicle champion Greg Harvey and Boy Stone in the Queen Motorspares Jimco. On board with De Villiers and Jordan in the Nissan hardbody super truck as they carved their way through the field after starting 21st. The onboard footage has been speeded up by 20%. They made short work of John Moore in the fishbowl and then set off in pursuit of the vacation van's Jeep of Paolo Piazzamuso and Scott Abraham. This time the shortcut didn't deliver the desired result and they had to try again. Another shortcut, and this time they managed to get by the Jeep and Niels and Zelda van der Walt in the Class D Nissan. 50 minutes into the Mareka Ford Caledon 400, there was a new leader in the Nissan of Probler and Leek. What had happened to Woolridge and Skoldhammer? Greg Dowse and Trevor Ormerod were well in control at the front of the chasing special vehicle pack. On board with Reiniger and Houghton in the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser as they overtake the stranded Mareka Ford of early race leaders Woolridge and Skoldhammer. The Toyota pair were having a trouble-free run, but behind them Atang Makakhaneni and Mike Stangl and Bucks Carolyn and Henny Testega were looking for a way past. Back on board with de Villiers and Jordan as they continued to reel in the opposition. They made quick work of Cliff Barker's Land Rover, which would later retire with suspension and engine problems. Then it was the turn of Harvey and Stone to come under pressure from the Nissan Star. Woolridge and Skoldhammer lost time with a puncture, and passing them moved the Nissan Geo into 6th place overall. Woolridge got underway again, and with the bit now firmly between his teeth, he started to reel in the opposition. The puncture cost him the lead and dropped him down to 6th place overall. The Mareka Ford pair had a lot of catching up to do. Despite a recent bout of pneumonia, Greg Harvey was in fine form in the Lexus V8-powered Jimco, which will soon be replaced by a radical Toyota super truck currently being built in Krugersdorp by Roger Taylor. Clarksdorp-based Hein Robler and Gerard Prinsloo were having a steady run in the top 10 in the Class D valid value Nissan hardbody, but had the vacation van's Jeep of Paolo Piazza Musso and Scott Abraham bearing down on them. The two-wheel drive 6-litre V8 powered Jeep started 19 and was now 10th overall. Drama at the first service point. Chepek collided with Makakhaneni and damaged the V-Motors Chenoweth.
Yeah, man, early on in the dust we got lost, and because the dust was bad, so somebody nearly hit the fence, so we tried to stop behind him in the dust, but it was too late. So there he was, and we were going quite quick, and we hit him very, very hard up the backside and popped our master cylinder, bent our front wheel, got out, tried to fix it, worked for about 10-15 k's, but then the brakes packed up completely, and we did last like 20-30 k's without brakes, and it's very dangerous. So we're going to fix it, and if we can fix it, we carry on. If we don't fix it, we're not driving without brakes.
The consistent Henry and Marisa Matten held down 2nd place in Class D in the Sony PlayStation Pajero, but they had fellow Class D contenders Duncan Foss and Mike Griffith in the valid value Nissan hardbody breathing down their necks. An hour into the race, Henry Kirstein and Herman Grieser had matters in control in Class B in the Deeds Drilling Service Sandmaster. Behind them, it looked like the charge of the Light Brigade as Steve Beifeld and J.J. Kelly in the Class A N1 4x4 Pajero and a pack of Class A and B contenders came chasing after them. Class E champions Andrew and Chris Birkin, who hail from Barberton, had led the Class E field from the start in the Castrol Toyota Hilux, but were being chased hard by KwaZulu-Natal cane farmers Manfred Schroeder and Jack Peckham in the diesel-powered Mareka Ford Ranger. Not too far behind was Harvey van Deventer in the N1 4x4 Toyota Hilux. 2.5 hours and 180 kilometers into the route, there was a new leader. Woolridge and Skoldhammer had moved from 6th to 1st overall in the Mareka Ford Ranger. The pace was certainly hot. Hannes Robler and Richard Leek in the 3.5-litre V6 powered Nissan hardbody had been relegated to 2nd, but were chasing as hard as ever. Freiburg farmer R.P. Reiniger had got by Greg Dowse and was having a good run in the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser. Back on board with de Villiers and Jordan as they passed the terminally stricken Jimco of Makakhaneni and prepared to pass Carolyn and Testega in the Pajero. Ever the gentleman, Carolyn pulled over for the hard-charging de Villiers. The Nissan pair were now 5th overall, but then matters went a little awry. This encounter with a gate post punctured the right front tyre. Johannesburg businessman Caledon regained the position he had lost to de Villiers. Despite having to stop at every service point to take on water to cool the radiator of the vacation van's Jeep, Paolo Piazza Musso and Scott Abraham had moved up to 6th overall and were closing in on the leading pack. Former multiple saloon car champion de Villiers and co-driver Jordan changed the flat wheel in record time and were again hunting down the leaders. The talented Powell-based youngster has won 2 events this season and was looking for a third on the Mareka Ford Caledon 400. Oh, the sound of another puncture. Ulrich and Skoldhammer arrive at the midway service halt in the lead. A quick pit stop to take on fluid and replace the punctured wheel, and the Mareka Ford pair were on their way again. Reinicke and Houghton arrived in 3rd place. Unlike the Ford and Pajero, the Toyota has to take on a full load of fuel at the midway point.
Just sat behind Greg Dowse and got a little bit held up there, so lost a little bit of touch with Hannes in the fourth, but still a long way to go, so we'll see what happens.
Caroline arrived in 4th place in Class T and 5th overall and only had a brief pit stop. De Villiers followed close on Caroline's heels. The Nissan Motorsport technicians, including team boss Glenn Hall, swarmed over the Nissan while De Villiers took on some refreshments.
How far are we behind? 5 minutes 10 now. Good one then? Yeah. How's it going?
Yeah, we're just having punches all the time. I don't know what's going on. Just in a straight line. It's very, very annoying. So we just get to the front and then we fall back again. So it's really pissing me off. But anyway, that's how it goes.
Greg Harvey and Boy Stone were involved in a running battle for 2nd position in the special vehicle category, with their arch rivals John Weir-Smith and Jeff Minnett in the O'Hagan's Kopanong Hotel Gymco.
How's it going out there, John?
Oh, it's wonderful. We had some electrical problems. Our rev limiter was cutting out and causing the problems. That's now sorted out.
Another lead change 300 kilometers into the route. Hannes Grobler and Richard Leake in the Nissan Hardbody had taken charge and looked to be likely winners of the Mareka Ford Caledon 400. The Nissan had performed faultlessly, and unlike their teammates, they had not picked up any punctures. Reinicke and Houghton were now 2nd overall in the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser, but had Caroline and Testega hot on their heels. Caroline just couldn't get past Reinicke and seemed destined to drive in the Toyota's dust for the entire event. The clutch on the Mareka Ford Ranger had started slipping intermittently, and as a result, Woolridge was forced to slow his pace. Apart from one season in Group N, special vehicle category leader Greg Dowse also raced off-road motorcycles for 4 years in the early 90s. Camille de Villiers and Francois Jordan were now 6th overall and rapidly closing in on the leaders. With just over 100 kilometers to go, there was a chance that they could win, barring any further punctures or technical maladies. Weir-Smith and Minnett were 2nd in the special vehicle category. Whoops. Driver error? Navigator error? No one seemed to care, and they were on their way again. Harvey and Stone had settled into a comfortable 3rd place in Class A. Mark Corbett and Juan Moore had taken the Class D lead in the Petronas Cinti Isuzu and looked set to make it 4 class wins in a row. The Isuzu, now minus body panels, has proved to be a formidable contender in Class D. Hein Grobler and Perrot Prinsley were not too far behind the Isuzu and remained a constant threat in the valid value Nissan Hardbody. Andrew and Chris Birkin had Class E all but sewn up in the Castrol Toyota Hilux, which had proved to be a little unreliable on previous events. Manfred Schroeder and Jack Peckham were an ever-present threat to the Birkins. Any points gained would help consolidate their Class E championship lead in the Moreka Ford Ranger. Gary and Bodo Berthold started 53rd after failing to complete the time trial. They eventually finished 12th overall in the Nissan V6-powered M&E Glass Dirt Co, designed and built by Brandon Harkis. Born in 1942, Father Bodo started off-road racing in 1971. Less than an hour to go in this grueling race, and the leaders were still Grobler and Leek in the Nissan hardbody. Sadly, their race would be run soon after this point when the motor expired. This unfortunate turn of events played right into the hands of teammates De Villiers and Jordan, who had suffered 4 punctures up to this point in the race. Harvey Reinecker and Robin Houghton experienced a trouble-free run in the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser and looked set for a well-earned podium finish. Caroline attempted to pass Reinecker with 20 kilometers to go and picked up a puncture and was fortunate not to lose a place. The Moreka Ford was still being plagued by a slipping clutch and would eventually finish 6th overall and 4th in the production vehicle category. Dowse and co-driver Trevor Omerod, who was competing in his first ever national championship event as a co-driver, had the special vehicle category all but tied up. However, he couldn't slow his pace by 1 second because Weir Smith was closing the gap in the more powerful Jimco. Chevik Sr. and Parker soldiered on without brakes after their early morning accident. A high-speed encounter with a donga resulted in Chevik injuring 3 fingers quite severely. The finish of the Moreka Ford Caledon 400, and Camille De Villiers and Francois Jordan scored their 3rd win of the season in the Nissan hardbody super truck. Nissan Motorsport boss Glenn Hall's early morning instruction to De Villiers, stating that he shouldn't bother to start if he cannot win, seemed to be just the right incentive for De Villiers. A fine 2nd place overall for Harvey Reinecker and Robin Houghton in the Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser.
Probably the hardest that I've ever driven in my whole short little off-road career. But we made it and we're here at the finish, and I'm very, very happy for us, for ourselves and for Nissan and for the whole team. I think it's going to be a big morale booster to show them that we can come from behind and actually win the race.
We're very glad to be here. We sort of keep up with the Nissans and the Ford, but we've got a lack of power. We're not able to sort of get it past them. So, but we're quite happy there. We had a clean run and to sort of restore our confidence in the car.
De Villiers took the overall win and Class T. Hein Grobler finished 6th in the production vehicle category and 1st in Class D, ahead of Schumi van Vieren. And the Birkins picked up a well-deserved Class E win. Greg Dowse and Trevor Omerod won their first ever national championship event after leading the special vehicle category from start to finish. John Weir Smith and Jeff Minnett stormed through from 35th to 2nd in the special vehicle category.
We've been working hard for a year to get here, and now we've got a full-time mechanic working on the car, Evan Hutchinson, and he's done a great job of bringing this car. Really, it's reliability. We had no problems the whole day. We just didn't have a 5th gear, unfortunately, for these super quick buckies, but we held it together, and that was what it's all about.
Well, I think it was pretty close. We started, I think, 34th or 37th, I'm not sure. It was a really well-marked race. A lot of fun. I look forward to doing it next year. I just can compliment everyone on putting a great event together.
Dowse clinched the win. Weir Smith got the better of Harvey in the Class A battle, while in Class B, Gavin Gray finished ahead of reigning Class B champion Gil Nel in the Look Africa Truggy.